Hello everyone. In this video, we'll do a basic initial configuration on a brand new FortiGate, including network and security settings to get end-to-end connectivity and some recommended system settings. We'll check how to connect for the first time to the FortiGate management interface, do the interfaces and static route configuration for ensuring connectivity. We'll also do some system and administration recommended initial settings, like configuring the hostname, time zone, administrator configuration, and more. We'll use the following topology on this lab, where FortiGate port 1 will be used as the WAN interface connected to the WAN router, and port 2 will be connected to LAN network, where a client machine will be used for testing connectivity through the firewall. In my case, I'll be using a FortiGate virtual machine running on VMware, but don't worry, everything we'll cover is equally applicable to physical FortiGate appliances. With that out of the way, let's power on our FortiGate and begin with the initial access. Before configuring anything, let's access the firewall for the first time. If you're using a physical FortiGate appliance, you'll typically connect your computer to port 1 on entry-level models. Entry-level models include two-digit models like FortiGate 50G, 60F, 70G, 80F, or 90G. On larger enterprise models, which can be identified for having 3 digits or more, you'll connect to the dedicated management interface labeled as MGMT. You need to configure your computer interface connected to the FortiGate with an IP address in the network segment 192.168.1.0 mask 24. Since we're using a virtual machine, the process is slightly different. Our FortiGate has just booted for the first time, and its port 1 interface is configured as a DHCP client by default. That means it automatically requests an IP address from the network it's connected to. To find the assigned address, simply take a look at the FortiGate console. We need to log in to get access to the console. The default username is admin, and there is no password configured initially. After signing in, FortiGate immediately requires us to create a new administrator password and then reconfirm this new password. Use show system interface followed by a question mark to get the assigned IP address. Write down this IP. We can now open a web browser and connect using HTTPS. In case of hardware models, the default IP address will always be 192.168.1.99. In our case, we insert the assigned IP address we've just checked. You'll probably receive a browser warning because the FortiGate uses a self-signed certificate. That's completely expected for a new installation, so we'll proceed to the login page. Insert the new defined credentials for the admin user. On the first login, we need to go through the FortiGate setup wizard. Select later because we don't want to migrate the configuration from a previous device. I don't want automatic patch upgrades, so I'll just disable it. We're now on the FortiGate dashboard. The first configuration we'll perform is the WAN interface. So go to Network, Interfaces. In many production environments, internet providers assign static IP addresses to the firewall, so that's the scenario we'll configure in this lab. Edit the port 1 interface. As we can see, its addressing mode is currently set to DHCP. First, set an alias of WAN to this interface. Then, change the addressing mode to manual. The IP address is automatically set according to the leased IP address via DHCP. We are keeping the same IP address in static mode. The HTTPS, SSH, and ping protocols administrative access can be left enabled since we're in a lab environment. Press OK to save changes. After assigning the IP information, the firewall still doesn't know where to send traffic destined for external networks. To solve that, we need to create a default static route in the static route section. We'll configure a route for 0.0.0.0/0 pointing to the WAN router according to our topology. With the route in place, Let's verify internet connectivity directly from the FortiGate using the built-in ping tool. If everything is configured correctly, we should receive replies, confirming that the firewall has internet connectivity. Now let's configure the internal network. Go back to Interfaces section. Edit port 2. First, we'll set an alias of LAN to this interface. We'll assign a static IP address and subnet mask according to our topology. This address will become the default gateway for all devices connected to our internal network. Enable the ping protocol for connectivity testing purposes. Next, we'll also enable the DHCP server on this interface. The DHCP server automatically assigns IP addresses, subnet masks, default gateways, and DNS information to client devices, eliminating the need to configure each computer manually. We'll define the address range that clients can receive and save the configuration. Press OK to save changes. Since I'm using VMware Workstation, there's one additional step that's important. By default, VMware's Virtual Network Editor is already running its own DHCP service for the same virtual network. If both VMware and FortiGate provide DHCP services simultaneously, clients could receive addresses from the wrong server, causing unexpected connectivity issues. To avoid this conflict, we'll disable the VMware DHCP service for the LAN network and allow FortiGate to be the only DHCP server. Now our client virtual machine can obtain its IP configuration directly from the firewall. At this point, our interfaces are configured, but client devices still cannot access the internet. That's because FortiGate blocks traffic by default unless a firewall policy explicitly allows it. Go to Policy and Objects, Firewall Policy to create our first firewall policy. We'll name this policy as LAN to WAN. The source interface will be the LAN, and the destination interface will be the WAN. We'll only allow traffic of internal network addresses, so we need to create a new address object which we can name LAN subnet, and define the corresponding network subnet according to our topology. Any destination or service will be reachable through the WAN interface. Finally, we'll enable source NAT so that internal private addresses can be translated into the public address configured on the WAN interface. We want to log all sessions in the traffic logs. Press OK. Now that the policy is installed, our client machine should be able to browse the internet. I just turned on my virtual machine client, so a new DHCP lease from FortiGate should have been assigned to the client. We see that an IP address and its default gateway, which is FortiGate's LAN interface, have been configured. Let's verify internet connectivity by opening a web page. We've successfully completed the basic network configuration. Let's go back to FortiGate interface and focus on some important basic system settings. First, let's assign a meaningful host name. Next, configure the proper time zone according to your case. Under Access tab, enable the redirection of HTTP to HTTPS administrative connections to the FortiGate, in this way avoiding insecure HTTP administrative sessions. Optionally, increase the idle timeout of admin sessions a few minutes. Click on Apply to save changes. Now, inside the Administrators section, we'll create a new administrator with full privileges to delete the default one according to the best security practices. Set a secure, strong password. And give this administrator the super admin profile. Log out and log in again with this new administrator account. We can now delete the default administrator. With that, our initial FortiGate configuration is complete.